Alrighty then, it's time for a Zac game, everyone's favorite underappreciated champion. Which one? And what I mean by that is his play rate is still so abysmally low. Which, despite the fact that his win rate is consistently high. It might have something to do with each other, only the good Zac players play him, but still, at this point, I think it's a goddamn joke. I mean, his win rate is now at a steady 52%. It's been going up and up because Riot's been giving him some love, some minor quality of life changes. New items have been introduced, and changes to the AP items have made his AP build better. And a lot of his top lane opponents are just champions that he really just can ignore forever. And it's just sort of puzzling at this point. It's like he needs Riot to give him a good PR push. He needs a professional player or just some high-end streamer to play him and bring him attention to him. He's not a weak champion. I mean, he's not insanely overpowered, and he sort of has his weaknesses, of course, but he's a very welcoming champion for players, and he's just sort of very well built. Look, consider this game right now. You'll see me exchange blows with Fizz on and off. You'll see me, harass him. You'll see him try to all-in me a few times, and I just sustain myself back to full health. This is kind of Zac games, just in general. He's a very safe top laner. He's someone you can pick first pick or last pick or something, and it won't really hurt you. And to me, it's like probably one of the coolest things you can have on a champion. I don't know about you, but as of late, I've been incredibly worried about being first pick or even second pick, because the new ban system kind of punishes you for being first or second. Yeah, you technically get to pick whoever you want, quote unquote, whoever you want. And you technically get to, secure some power picks for sure. But on the other hand, you don't get to ban anything. And at worst, since your bans are being handled by 3 different people, they may have a different idea of how to strategically ban things. In solo queue, let's say I was first pick and I had all the bans prior to the ban changes, I would ban out things that were strong, and I would ban out things that give my teammates trouble. Or I would check how the enemy team was banning and sort of reflect that in this in the bans sometimes, or my counter bans. Just sometimes like, oh, if it's very obvious they're banning nothing but top laners, I'm going to assume the first pick is a top lane champion. He's going to pick a top lane champion to make sure he has an easier time, right? Like, so at one time I actually got a couple times actually, got very lucky banning out a Riven because, not because Riven was overpowered, but because my opponent wanted a picker, and she had banned shit out like Malphite and Renekton. I'm like, that's ridiculously specific and kind of very obvious. So it gave me the idea that that person was going to pick Riven, and the ban worked out. Now everyone just bans whoever that either pisses them off the most or one of the power picks, and sometimes they still fuck that up. First pick is at the mercy of their teammates. First pick is at the mercy of their teammates also paying attention not to ban out something that you could pick, right? Like, that was one of my bigger worries is for ranked right now. I hate being first pick because my teammates may not make bans that help me out, and everything in the world can counter me. It just feels like you're such at a disadvantage at first pick. However, jungle or top lane, Zac is such a comfortable pick. And like, there's nobody that directly just defeats him. There's a lot of characters he really just kind of just stalemates the lane versus and doesn't really accomplish anything except just sort of farming all day and then hoping for team fights to come around. And that might be kind of bad against a Nasus, but at the same time, it's just, if you're ever worried about being counterpicked or being destroyed, just pick Zac. It's almost kind of like hilarious that he's just this unshapely blob, and it kind of just sits there. It's like, oh, who to pick? Just a blob that you could sort of go all Play-Doh with and do whatever you want with it. Build him how you want, or react to him how you want. As you can see again in this game, aside from the Shyvana coming in and kicking my ass, it's just pretty much a stalemate against the Fizz. If it wasn't for his corrupting potion, he wouldn't even have gotten me too low. Once I got a few items and once I got a few of my bearing into the game, exchanging blows with him is ridiculously easy. It's just he just has this corrupting potion keeping him up. It's super damn comfortable and super fun to play, at least as Zac, in something like this, because you get to punish a lot of champions or a lot of players who really are underestimating your ability to do a surprising amount of damage as Zac, or react or do anything. Right now, unfortunately, this game is a very, how would you say, messy. My teammates aren't doing poorly per se, but they're going really crazy in their dives, and the enemy team is going crazy in their dives. So they're all killing each other at a rapid pace. And right now, I'm just sort of trying to keep up. I can't really do anything because Tank Fizz is super, dumb to kill. Like it takes a while to kill, and I only managed to kill him because he overcommitted and underestimated me. But in most circumstances, something like this shouldn't really be happening. The enemy Shyvana really can't attack me either unless they tower dive me. So again, it's just sort of like a stalemate until team fights happen. But even then, that's when the true fun happens. Now, I mentioned this about Aurelion Sol, but Zac is one of those cool champions too, in which he's one of those few champions still in the game in which leveling his skills up differently actually affects him tremendously. In the jungle, you max out his E for his ganking power and his, burst when he initiates on something, and obviously the range. In the lane, you either max out your Q for the farming and the harass, or your W for the push and the sustained dueling and that whatnot. So that's one of the cool things about him. I love it. By the way, yeah, that was not exactly a proper use of my ultimate, but I kind of used it because I thought I was going to maybe get killed in this next little combo and I wanted to interrupt it. And maybe I was going to bounce around to heal myself, but I didn't do that timely, so I messed that up. By the way, you can see the enemy kill squad finally shows up top lane, and it forces me forever off from top lane. But, thankfully, because of how Zac is, it doesn't really matter. You could be a naked Zac and still technically contribute. He's a tank champion, so it just doesn't matter. And that kind of helps out his safety, too. Unless you're going to AP Zac, then you can still do your goddamn job as a tank Zac. Now, I've already gone over his weaknesses before and his strengths before. One of his biggest weakness is, again, being displaced, in that he's very slow at initiating because it has a channel time, 2 channel times in fact. Your channel of getting your E up and then actually landing the damn thing. That's actually considerable. His other weakness, again, is his lack of mobility outside of his E and his ultimate. And you can't; those two abilities are high value and high cooldown. So once those things are down, you kind of have to just sort of crawl through things. But his strength, again, is that he's got no sustain issues. He's got a lot of built-in health, or at least he gets rewarded for building a lot of health. He's got pretty low cooldowns on his other abilities, so he kind of slog it out. His sustain damage is pretty high. Some people will often refer to him as the other Amumu of the game, or when it comes to crying damage and that kind of shit. And he's ridiculously easy to build, and thankfully his his AP build got buffed up. I went with a tank build this game because I had no idea whether I was fighting tank Fizz or whatever the hell I was fighting, but I figured tank Zac would have the best chance against him because AP Zac, I might die with one combo against the Fizz, and this way I'm at least survive enough for me to start hugging the tower. So, to my surprise, yeah, you see he totally went tank, so he just doesn't really have the damage to deal with me. Zac's best matchups are against other sluggers, or at least, champions that have to win a fight in 20 to 30 seconds or some shit like that. So in the long run, he can't do jack dick against me no matter how much he tries, and if I go all out on him, then it's just kind of negates everything. You saw that. My ultimate wasn't used as best it could be, but it pretty much reset the fight between me and him. My teammates, you can see, are getting into skirmishes with the enemy. Well, thankfully, the enemy Shyvana is building like a complete dumbass. I'm going pure damage. And I mean, that's not technically a terrible build sometimes, but in this one, where you're fighting a Volibear and a Zac, you probably don't want to be glass cannon. The Volibear alone will tear Shyvana's ass apart just building pure tank, and he has been. So yeah, that's a pretty bad itemization for the opponent. But anyways, here's where where things are going to start getting better. Like I said, Zac does really well in fights that take quite a while, and he punishes characters that can't burst him down. Coincidentally, his passive helps him survive burst as well, or at least, negate its usefulness if you can't kill off his little blobs after. Anyways, enemy Shyvana and my teammate Yasuo come in, but they disengage, and then they re-engage with Fizz's ultimate. However, they've already lost a goddamn initiative, and so me and Yasuo just turn around, combine our CCs, and a perfectly timed ultimate by Yasuo as the Fizz ult was going to hit, and we just fucking decimated them. Unfortunately, tank Fizz is a little too hard to kill, so he gets to survive, and Bane shows up to gun down the Yasuo. Sadly, though, he kind of got really close to killing them, so it's pretty heartbreaking. Nonetheless, this is an important lesson to learn, because the Fizz and the Shyvana initiated very poorly. The Shyvana had already burned her ultimate to retreat, They had already burned out their abilities. It essentially lost all the value of Fizz getting a pretty well placed ultimate. There was just exactly no follow up. They had lost all initiation, or initiative. And as a result, me and the Yasuo were able to set up the perfect counter attack and pretty much destroy them. They set themselves up. They played themselves. Now, the reason I bring this up is because this shit is going to happen again. You don't burn resources on characters you can't exactly punish or kill or do anything. Caitlyn is going up the river, and Shyvana's immediately going to ult on her. You won't see it because the camera doesn't catch it. And the Caitlyn is able to quickly make space between them and gun her down. In the meantime, Thresh and Fizz are attacking me, and within like just 2 auto attacks, they should have realized we don't do any damage fast enough to kill the Zac. We should just change our target to Caitlyn or leave. As a result, they waste so much time, effort, mana, and everything, and Caitlyn is able to just show up and completely unscathed and gun them down. Vayne shows up, but because she lost all her teammates or anything, it basically became a 2v1. Thresh had already started to leave. That was such a catastrophic defeat for them because they played that so poorly. And as a result, they surrender out of shame. It's fun. I love this of Zac, just being basically unkillable. But nobody else does. If you have a chance, play Zac. Show him some love. Alrighty guys, I've restarted my Teespring campaign and my voice check t-shirts are once again available. Click the link in the description below to take a good look at them and decide if you want to obtain one for yourself. My channel is made possible by the help of sponsors like Loot Crate and Crunchyroll and the continued support of fans like you. Click the links in the description below to check out my sponsors and make sure to give a like and leave a comment below to help stimulate the growth of the channel.